Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 10 of the ILR3 Season 6 Championship. Today, you join me in my home country of Britain for, of course, the British Grand Prix. We are now at the halfway point of the season, or we will be by the time we reach lap, I don't know, 12-ish tonight. But anyway, let's get ready for this qualifying session. Of course, the track of Silverstone quite interesting, much as I prefer Brands Hatch, although I'll not have that get in the way of anything tonight. Spag, this kid here, has a broken or fractured ankle, not entirely sure, but yeah, basically he injured his ankle in our school's grudge match against our rival school, which is quite a serious affair that at least he won. So yeah, other than that, I wasn't there. I could have played for the B team. Of course, I'm nowhere near the quality of the A team, but yeah, I could have been in the B team, but instead I decided to go out on a weekend with cadets, which was quite regrettable, because if you saw the weather last night, you will have understood why that may have been a slight mistake. But anyway, here comes QVR Cone. I'm going to say Cone. Got to remember that. But yeah, I'm now very tired, so hopefully that shouldn't impede on the commentary. I mean, it's been a while. Been a couple of weeks since I've been up in the commentary box, so it's been building up a bit. And let's just get straight into it then. Already heading through. I always forget the turn names. I just have to brush up on my Silverstone track names. Ooh. I forgot I have my Safari on dark mode, but anyway, here we go, through towards Cops. I know this section here, it's the best section on the track. There we go, through Cops, heading towards Maggots and Beckett's then. Silverstone. Oh no, not Classic, damn it. Here we go. I don't want maps, oh. Sorry about this, but already heading towards the next time. It's looking kind of cloudy, you know? You know, it is Britain. We might actually see some rain this evening. I'm not quite sure. And those of you in the ILR chat may have seen the fact that I was eating some biscuits with an expiry date in 2021. Those are, of course, the renowned Biscuit Browns. But anyway, as we go through the final turn now, to ride on board for this hot lap with QVR, Cone, Blythe. Anyway, heading through Abbey right now, which goes through to the farm curve and then into Village, which leads round to the loop. The loop, quite a difficult turn. And it leads off into Aintree, flat out from here onto the Wellington Straight. It is called the Wellington Straight because, of course, this used to be an RAF bomber station, specifically the Wellington bomber station. So a little bit of history for you there. Anyway, heading through the left-hand turn of Brooklands, which leads into Luffield. There's the yellow flags in Sector 3. But out of Luffield we go, flat out from here through Woodcott, and it's probably flat out through Cops as well. Just keep an eye on that bottom right. No, bit of a lift down to gear 7 just to keep those revs high. Anyway, heading through to Maggots and Beckett's, which leads out onto Chapel and the Hangar Straight. Of course, I need to retweet the tweet that has just been tweeted. Anyway, heading out of the Hangar Straight towards Stowe, which then leads into Vale. Here we go. Gotta hit a like on that post and retweet, but there we go. QVR Blige back into the pits, and I'm awfully sorry for butchering that name literally every time I say it. But yeah. Also, if you're like, yeah, just don't join the cadets, because as soon as you shoot the rifle you got to clean it and it takes like 2 hours, because literally we shot for about 1 minute this morning. That was blanks, 15 blanks, ended up cleaning rifles for 2 hours. But anyway, the other Cone is up into third, but it's going to be Josh Mayer on provisional pole position with a 1:26.7, so quite a good lap there from him. And let's see what Zanine can do, because he's heading through Vale now. Bit of overseeing, nothing too bad. He's going to cross the line, 1:27.0. Just 0.02 of a second faster than Tomo. Oh, I do apologise. And there we go towards Abbey and into the farm curve. I'll probably forget these later on in the race anyway. I did miss the last race. That was because I was doing the Yorkshire 3 Peaks Challenge, which was just a very long hike up 3 hills. If you've seen the video on my channel, that was a lot of effort. Oh, that was a bit of an effort. Kryptonite, he's run off onto the gravel trap on the exit of Luffield. I think he's had to slow down there for a reason. Noob 999 is in 14th, of course, replacing the old Renault driver who won in France. In fact, 100% of Spaghetti Chip's teammates have been moved up to ILR2 this season. So, chances are we won't be seeing Noob next weekend. But we'll have to wait and see. Now then, Alice Killer is in Sector 3 right now, heading through Vale. Ooh, Spaghetti Chips with the broken ankle up into provisional pole. 126.7 there. Only very slightly faster than Josh, as Alice Killer is slightly behind them with a 126.8. Only 0.005 of a second faster than Paga. So, yeah, it's rather close up at the top here. And we're going to have to keep an eye out on these timings. It's unnaturally warm for a British day around Silverstone. I think the game must be incorrect about something here, because something just doesn't add up. Kryptonite's Cohen's on an out lap. Kryptonite, on the other hand, is on a hot lap, it looks like. One thing I have been is, yeah, ration packs. Oh god. Oh, it's like liquid food. It's really not nice. It's there to give you energy. And I decided, I thought it'd be a good idea to trade the muesli I got for a korma. Then I forgot, what am I going to have for breakfast this morning? So I ended up having vegetable korma with chocolate pudding for breakfast this morning. So yeah, very nutritional. And yeah, I'm also got to keep focused. Oh, it is. Oh, I'm so tired right now. But let's do this. I'll stop going on about that because it will get really annoying. But anyway, this is Kryptonite heading through Stowe. Probably got that wrong, but and then I'll just get berated in the comments. Was I right? Was I right? Was I right? Yes, I was. I am a genius. Although Kryptonite had an invalid lap, that was a 126.7. That would have put him all the way up into potentially even 3rd place. Maybe even pole, because it was a 126.7. I'm not sure how far up that was though. So yeah, there's not much we can say about that. But yeah, that would have been a good lap from him. So Kryptonite clearly has some decent pace, as long as he can keep it on the black this evening. Praga now. Praga and Paga. Oh, I've been away for too long. This is not going to end well. And they're both in Red Bulls to add to the confusion. So that's really helpful. But that's fair enough. And if I do get confused, at least you understand why, and hope that you can sympathise with me. Oh dear, this is just not going to end well. There's yellow flags now in Sector 3. Do not know why. Through Beckett and out of Chapel. Oh dear, I think he might have invalidated there because he's gone slowly there. Maybe he's trying to build up some ERS before the end of his lap. I don't know, but here comes Noob along the Wellington Straight. Yeah, as I mentioned, the Wellington Straight RF Bomber Station. And yeah, the Wellington Bomber, what a feisty aircraft. Although some planes not so much. One interesting thing though, if we're going to talk about World War II planes, is the reason you can't fly a Spitfire upside down is because it has carburetor injected engine. Well, the fuel enters the engine through a carburetor, whereas the Messerschmitt had fuel injection, which is why you'd be able to fly a Messerschmitt upside down in a dogfight, but you wouldn't be able to fly a Spitfire upside down in a dogfight. So that's a little bit of information for you there. Of course, they were Rolls-Royce engines with the quality British engineering. But yeah, I'm going off on a bit of a ramble here. Here comes Noob then across the line. It's a very early line in around Silverstone. That's one thing that's always caught me. It feels like the Grand Prix straight or the International straight just feels a bit forced, because the National straight looks like it would flow a lot more. Although, to be fair, both of the straights are very short, which is quite interesting, I think. And also the new iOS update got dropped at some point, so you might be enjoying that. And I'll get these comments up on my phone and pray that the stream doesn't crash. ILR3, ILR2, oh dear, ILR2 is beating us in views. Not broken ankle, well I don't care, it's broken to me, as Deneen gets provisional pole position. Yeah, see Lenny, if you just left it, then you would have kept pole position, but no, you had to specify that it wasn't broken, and that takes away the magic of your lap. So you brought that upon yourself, mate. But yeah, whatever, fractured, sprained, apparently it's in between the two. I don't know. I haven't had enough social media contact recently. All I know is there was a bit of an injury in the game, in the grudge match. But we shall continue with the qualifying session before I just stare off into space for no reason, as Paga takes provisional pole, a 1:26.3. It's quite interesting. Almost everyone has who has qualified on these softs. Does that mean we're going to get rain, or is that just the strategy people are opting for this evening? I'm not entirely sure, but here comes Lewis. He's on an out lap as he goes through Luffield. And Kryptonite's just heading through Cops now. So yeah, we'll watch for these two drivers to start setting their lap times. And let's have some more of the never expiring biscuit. It's so dry. It's like a cracker. If you suck the moisture out of a cracker. For every bite you gotta drink a whole glass of water. That's how dry it is. And now you get some ASMR. Here comes Kryptonite then, to start his hot lap. How hot will it be? Let's have a look. He is in the Alfa Romeo, and that is red, so might see something great here. Have to wait and see, but it's the two Red Bull owned teams. At the top, of course, Red Bull and Pole, but in second place it's Toro Rosso, and of course, not really in the league, but in real life, Toro Rosso, the sister team of Red Bull. Maybe some, I don't know, maybe something suspicious going on there. We'll have to keep an eye out on Paga and Deneen then. But let's continue. I mean, the Ginger and Alice Killer, I've just noticed, are very close as well. And we've got some really close lap times going on here. They're under 100th of a second between each other. But yeah, here comes Kryptonite through Maggots, then Beckett's. Quite an interesting complex. Although without the OP ballast setups in this game, not so risky. Though I must admit, I have not been playing that much F1. I've kind of got addicted to Project Cars right now. But I re-downloaded Battlefield 1, and I haven't touched that since I downloaded it, but probably have to crack it open after the race. Ooh, bit of a corner cut there from Kryptonite. He turned in slightly too early in the second part of Veldet. Has that got an invalidation? No, it hasn't. And that's going to put him up into third. So a 1:26.6, ahead of the Ginger by a fair amount. I say a fair amount. It's under 100th of a second. I mean, it's under a 10th of a second. So not exactly a fair amount, but here's some way in terms of qualifying ahead of him. And we've got Calm Racer at the bottom as Lewis has retired from the session with 3.5 minutes to go. Has that been a crash, or has he decided he doesn't want to set any more laps? Because we will start seeing the final salvo any moment now. Pardon me. Here comes Kvyat Cone then, or quavers, I know some people like to call them. Ah, I see. So a little bit of the strategy catching out Lewis there, then. Not realising everyone was on softs. So that's not exactly ideal for him, but he's not going to have the greatest qualifying this evening. I can assure you that, because he's currently in 15th. Cone will be looking to get ahead of him. His last lap was on the mediums. He's about to set a lap on the softs. Dougie Falcon seems to be lacking quite some pace on these softs, so now that would be interesting towards the end of the session then. Out of Chapel along the hangar straight then. I'm just have a quick look at something. No, I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not going to have a quick look at something because I closed the app. Mission failed, I'm 15th. I thought others would start on medium, so that's some inside knowledge coming from the Inside Line Racing chat. There we go. You're welcome. But anyway, here comes Cohen. Sorry. Completely missed that. He's just gone up to 11th with a 127.0, a hundredth of a second behind Noob. So, yeah, as I said, we've got some very close people this evening. Cohen now heading towards the end of Sector 3 then. What kind of lap time can he set? I think he might struggle to improve with this one, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Oh, there we go. There goes my phone across the line. It's going to be a 126.9, so I was wrong actually. That's put him all the way up into 10th, just ahead of Noob and Cone. So yeah, there we go. Quite close between those top dudes. So we'll go down to the other Cone, Blige. No, in fact, he's on an in lap, so we'll get to someone who's on an on a hot lap, which would be Alice Killer. Heading towards the middle part of Sector 2 now. Yellow flags in Sector 1 then. That's clearly for some kind of issue for someone. Or of course, someone moving out of the way of a faster car. Don't think we're going to see a repeat of Monza from the actual Grand Prix. So that's always good to see. But here we go then, towards Bale for the final time this qualifying session. I don't think he's going to be able to squeeze in another lap unless he can really push towards the line. No, he could go for another lap. I doubt he will. With a 126.5 on the board, that's going to put him in third. Now let's see what other people can do, because behind Kryptonite, I think that is yeah, that would be Noob, whereas this is Spaghetti Chips. Let's find someone in Sector 3. Or not, I don't know. Here comes Deneen actually. Paga's currently sat on provisional pole by nearly half a second. What can Deneen do to catch up? He's heading through Sector 3 now. Out of Vale then. It's all about the exit there. Careful of the curves though, because they can really upset the tyres if you're accelerating hard. He's not going to improve. In fact, he's going to be over a second down. The Ginger squeezing him just in front of him by 0.02 of a second. That is very, very close. All right, then, let's have a look. Here comes Dougie Falcons. Dougie Falcons just on the end of Sector 3. Here comes Praga in the Red Bull Honda. Of course, they are all on equal performance anyway. Keeping an eye out for changes on the board. It doesn't look like much. I think people are struggling to improve. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be the best exit for Praga across the line. He's going to improve by half a second. But he's not going to move up the board. And that brings an end to the qualifying session. Of course, the two people that didn't qualify on softs are the two people at the bottom of the order. So yeah, all we're waiting on now is for Praga to return to his garage now. There we go. And we get a nice onboard shot of the Red Bull engineers. But anyway, the qualifying order is going to be Paga, the Ginger, 21-21, LR Danino, 6-9, LR Skiller, 150, Kryptonite, Spaghetti Chips, Josh Mayer, D43, Tom Over, Verstappen RB33, Noob 999, LR Paga, Iskan, Dougie Falcons 97, QVR Cone Village, Terror Racer 96, Lawman's Lewis 11004, and Con Racer rounding off the grid. So there we go. Some very, very close gaps around the place. I mean, if we go up to the top, you'll see just how close it was between the Ginger and Deneen. 0.02 of a second. I don't think anyone expected that when we arrived in the qualifying session just 20 minutes ago. Anyway, it's looking slightly overcast, but mostly a bit of blue sky showing through the clouds, and so that's always an indication of whether it's going to rain or not. I don't think it is going to rain. Just it's always good to keep a weather eye out on the ILR chat to see if there's anything going on in there. Well, Nathan is annoyed at Kryptonite. I'm not sure which one Nathan is. It might be Noob. And yeah, a bit of friction there. That was due to the AI. And a bit of a misunderstanding between the two of them. So, let's get ready then for the British Grand Prix. Of course, we are going to get started with the formation lap, warming up the tyres and the brakes. What the heck? That is not strictly protocol for a formation lap. Anyway, let's get ready then. We've got 26 laps to go, so when we hit lap 13, we'll be exactly halfway through the ILR calendar. And it should be quite an entertaining race. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've commentated. Of course, I missed last weekend. And, yes, that makes it 2 weeks, because right now I'm only doing one race a week due to exams and stuff. But, that shouldn't get in the way too much with ILR. We can start getting ready for this evening. One thing to mention is the chair I'm sitting on right now, it is so hard. Like, if I sit here for more than an hour, it's painful, but there's literally nothing you can do, especially when you're using your wheel, because you've got to stay in one position, really. And if your gluteus maximus becomes very numb, then it's not going to be the most comfortable experience, so bear with me if I'm shuffling around a bit. Oh, it's raining! Oh my goodness! This is not what the drivers expected when they left their garages a moment ago. That means everyone's starting on slicks, whilst the rain has just started to fall. This is... I don't think anyone could have seen this coming. This might cause carnage on the start, though, because it's going to be a wet start on slick tyres. This is like some YouTuber's challenge. This is not what anyone was expecting this evening. Look at this. It's raining pretty heavily here in the United Kingdom for the British Grand Prix. And, yeah, everyone's on slicks. This is really, really interesting then. And let's see what's going to happen now. I think some of the drivers are going to be slightly worried by that. But yeah, that's really going to spice things up. And I can see someone typing. I don't know. Let's see what they've got to say. But anyway, we've got a couple of drivers who were... he said, the game said 20 minutes into the race the rain would come. Well, it's come 20 minutes sooner, because look at this. It is absolutely pouring in Britain. Anyway, there's been a bit of a glitch. Although the weather can always be perfect. Let's get ready then for 26 laps of Silverstone. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Red lights are out and away we go. Will we have any spins off the start? It doesn't look like it. It looks like Pagger's going to be able to defend off the get-go. Although LR Deneen has made it past the Haas of the Ginger 21-21. Spaghetti Chips having a poor start, but he's going to dive bomb right down the inside of Kryptonite. Into the next turn, there's a McLaren wide in the background there. As we got Verstappen trying to get past Prager. He's side by side with Tomo though, so they are very, very close, and Praga might try and make an overtake here. And has the rain ceased again? I'm not entirely sure. But up ahead goes Josh Mayer on the inside of Kryptonite. Can he get the position? I'm not sure, but Verstappen and Tomo are still side by side as we head through Luffield. And Cone is trying to find somewhere through there. Verstappen's overtaken both of them round the outside there. I don't think anyone saw that coming, otherwise they would have truly tried to defend from it. As we've got a bit of tussling up as we go towards Cops. Side by side are Josh and Spaghetti. And Josh has just about got that position. Now Spaghetti chips us to defend from behind as well as we go through Maggots, followed by Beckett. That is a very entertaining start to the Grand Prix. The rain is still coming, and Spag has got an excellent exit on the back of Beckett and Chapel, but he nearly went into the back of the McLaren, so that forced him to back off. I don't think we're going to be seeing anyone pit onto the Inters. That is very awkward. And definitely those who qualified on the mediums, that is definitely going to be a bit of a problem for their strategy. But there goes Spaghetti Chips down the inside of Josh Mayer into Vale. He's got the position. Here comes Paga then as we head towards Farm Curve and Abbey first. Could we see a move here now? Into Village? No, he's going to back off. So let's have a look down the order. Kryptonite is side by side with Verstappen. No, he's not. He's quite far ahead. Trying to gain some ground on Josh Mayer, but he's not going to be able to do it. And I think Verstappen might be trying to get the switchback done on the Alfa Romeo. I'm not sure how well it's going to work. The rain is really picking up. The track is going to be very greasy at this point in time. Let's have a look down the order because Lawmans is going to send it down the inside of it's going into Brooklands as there goes Lewis. And that's 3 wide into Brooklands in greasy conditions. Cone Blige trying to get past the Ferrari, but he's not got any room for that. And he's going to have to back off for now, although he's side by side with Khan Racer as we head along the National Straight. It looks like Cone is going to be able to die another day, as the old James Bond's film was called. Anyway, another interesting history fact is, of course, Brooklands is named Brooklands after the first purpose-built racetrack ever, which was built in the United Kingdom, and it has its own museum. And that's where you would go to watch the Earl of Northumberland's head get decapitated in the safety regulations of that era. That was pre-war, of course. Oh, look at this! The Ginger trying to get past Deneen for the lead of the race, although he's just about had to back off. He could have taken it. DRS has been enabled though, so we'll probably see that get disabled at some point this lap, because look how greasy it is. The bottom drives are pitting, and this could mean those bottom 10 could become the top 10. Oh, look at that bit of contact there. Side swiping at Paga. That's the Ginger in the lead, and Deneen is going to have to back off now. And if the undercut of the lap works for those bottom 8 drivers, we could really see them pull something out of the bag here. And that could mean the top 10 drop down to last. Or the top 9, even as Deneen has run a bit wide into Brooklands, having a bit of a slide on there. There were yellow flags at another point on the track, probably due to the rain, causing someone to spin it or something along that line. But the rain is torrential right now. And yeah, pretty true to yesterday evening / this morning where I am in the southeast. Oh, but look at that. The understeer really catching Alice Killer off guard. Those slicks are going to be aquaplaning all over the place right now as there's the yellow flags. And I think that might be Terror Racer. I'm not sure. He has lost a position though, so we'll have to keep an eye out. But let's have a look and see whether the Ginger is going to trigger a pit stop as he heads towards Stowe now. In fact, let's have a look at Josh Mayer, because he's... Oh, no, never mind. He was in a position to make a move, but not anymore. He's clearly had a bit of a poor exit on the back of Chapel, but here comes the Ginger into the pit lane. Now then, Dougie Falcons, leader of the Inters. Let's see if he can overtake those other drivers. He's got Verstappen rather close behind him, so he's going to be breathing down his neck like a dragon. Of course, the red Ferrari linking to that. Praga has got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We've got a bit of shuffling about in the order in the pits. That's really... Oh, I don't even know what's going on. Maybe drivers getting held up or stuff. Cohen getting a 5-second penalty as well. That's QBR Cohen. But anyway, let's see where Dougie Falcons comes up compared to the other drivers. And it looks like the undercut has worked. And Dougie Falcons takes the lead of the Grand Prix this evening. So does Verstappen take second, just ahead of the Ginger, followed by Lawmans. That is seriously interesting. So that's Dougie Falcons up 12 positions. So is Lawmans, actually. So that's really worked out for them. So waiting the extra laps of pit may have been a bad move from those top 9. And that's really shuffled about the order. And that is making this race extremely interesting. Spaghetti Chips is going to look down the inside of, that's Pagger through Brooklands. And he's going to take the position because Pagger's still on the slick tyres. What's Pagger doing on the softs then? Look at that. He has absolutely no grip as there's Josh trying to get it down the inside. It's nearly, he's had a bit of a collision there, but nothing too bad as Tomo just with the power. Pagger, of course, not going to be able to accelerate hard on those aquaplaning slicks. And I'm not sure what's happened to the strategy there for the driver there. Oh, I think he must have forgotten to set it to inters. And that is really unfortunate there for Pagger. He's getting forgotten to set it to inters. And he's been pitted onto the softs by his crew. That is very, very unfortunate. Let's go up to Terror Racer, actually. Because he's going to have a look down the inside of Pagger into Brooklands. Not Brooklands, into Stowe. As Pagger was just behind him. That was the cause of confusion. I said earlier that there might be some confusion due to the names. But here we go then, through Maggots, not Maggots and Beckett's. What am I on about? That was Farm Curve. But anyway, on the exit for the Wellington Straight, it's all about how early you can apply the power. Can Verstappen RB33 defend the position from the Ginger 21-21 this lap? It's going to be close as we head through Brooklands and Luffield. I reckon if I were to design a racetrack, I'd have an absolute field day naming the sounds. That'd be so fun. Although, to be fair, I think in England we have the most imaginative names for racetracks, like for turns at racetracks. Because, you know, you have your generic names like the Senate S's, a few tracks such as Cota and Sao Paulo. Then in Britain you got things like Druids, Pilgrims Rise, Graham Hill Bend, Hawthorne. They're just all pretty sick sounding names, if you know what I mean. And I think, yeah, that's definitely, I just think that the names of turns in Britain just sound pretty cool. Although that might be the cause of some debate in the comments, I don't know. But here comes Alice Scott. He's close behind the Husky Chocolate McLaren of Josh. But he's not quite close enough. Whereas Verstappen is too close to the Ginger and Lawmans because he's lost both positions there through Village. So he was not expecting that, I sincerely doubt, as Alice Keller has had a moment. And that is him all the way down into 13th place. He's been overtaken by his teammate as well, so he's not going to be too happy about that. Just because he had a bit of a moment there through the farm curve. Anyway, if you have any questions or any predictions, do let me know in the comments down below. I'm ready to answer them. So yeah, do let me know if you've got any questions in the comments. I was about to repeat myself quite heavily there. But let's continue to go through Maggots and Beckett's. So it's a bit risky in the wet. You've got to be a bit more careful. You've got to balance being careful with being fast. And that is the whole balance of driving in the wet in racing. But let's continue with the race. if you, yeah, of course, as I said earlier, and I keep repeating myself, but do let me know any predictions, any information on the other drivers as well. If you're watching any of their streams, or if you're in a party with any of them, that would be very appreciated. Speaking of which, we have our first. Oh, and that's Dougie. He was going slowly there, and that could be the opportunity for Lawmans to get the position through Village. Yes, he does. Yeah, qualifying was dry, Mohammed. Completely dry, actually, although it did look a bit overcast. Now it is really wet. In fact, will we see the wet tyres come out this evening as well? That would be interesting. We're already on lap 7 here, but the rain is coming down at some force. And the battle for the lead is between 4 drivers, so that is going to be really interesting when we get to the closing stages of the race. In the meantime, then, I guess Chit's trying to close up on Deneen. There's a bit of a gap between Deneen and Verstappen. I'm not sure how big that gap is. Verstappen is closing up on Dougie Falcons, but I don't think he's closing up enough, because as you can see, that gap is just increasing rapidly there. Riding on board, yeah, the rain is really coming down heavily, and I think we might see wet tyres being brought out tonight. I don't know, it's always going to be a risk with the UK weather, but riding on board, you can see the rain coming down really heavily. And yeah, the drivers are probably struggling to grip quite badly on the semi-slick intermediates. But anyway. This is Verstappen on the exit. Oh dear. Of the first sector, pretty much, onto the Wellington Straight. Now, it's going to be interesting. Oh, Alice Killer, I think he's done another oopsie, because he's dropping positions again. Yes, he has. Is that Luffield? I want to. No, that's not. That's Village, where that's not gone too well for him. Village A and Village B, so he's not going to be too impressed with himself for that. But heading through Brooklands and into Luffield, Tomo really trying to get past Kryptonite. But yeah, that rain in the formation lap, that was very, very interesting, because it was dry when they started, and it just suddenly started coming down. And I believe the drivers were told that the rain would only come 20 minutes into the race, and I don't think they expected it to come so early. And that was quite a surprise for a few of the drivers, as we've passed. We're approaching about a third of the way through the Grand Prix. Spaghetti Chips finally makes his overtake on Deneen into Stowe. Tomo close behind Kryptonite. They're all going onto the standing water, which is interesting, just to try and cool down those tyres, because as soon as your wet weather tyres start to get really hot, they really lose their stickiness. Stickiness, yeah, I suppose, and it just makes it a lot more difficult to keep it on the track. But one thing to mention is there's Kryptonite with a 3-second time penalty, and that is going to help Tomo. Has that thrown Kryptonite off as they go through Village? It looked like it might have done. Oh my, Alice Kellett has just retired from the session, but before I was about to, just as I was about to say, someone was about to make a move, I was about to say, I'm surprised we haven't had any DNS. But, of course, curse of the commentator has struck again, and it's claimed Alice Killer, although I think Alice Killer has just retired so as not to impede anyone else. I think he's really struggling for grip in these conditions, but there's yellow flags. Why are there yellow flags? I think that might be Paga. Paga has not had a good race so far. He's going back into the pits. He's on the wet tyres now. So this is getting very interesting. Are we going to see everyone else go into the wets? I really don't know. It has been such a horrendous Grand Prix for Paga. And yeah, it looks like he's going back onto the inters. I think he's given up at this point, really. Anyway, the Ginger is still holding on to the lead here. Although he's just gone over the sausage curb through Vale. A bit of a spin you can hear on board as well, but he's increasing that gap somewhat to Lawman's. Verstappen just can't get past Dougie, and that means the gap between themselves and the top two is beginning to increase by a fair amount. And yeah, sorry for that little disturbance in the background there. That was just my mum returning from Ireland. She was there for the weekend. I'm going to have a quick look at how long these laps are taking. 1 minute 40. Okay then. 1 minute 40 is... We've got 16 laps to go actually. We've got about... Oh dear. You know what? Never mind. I'm way too tired to think of any maths right now. I was going to try and predict roughly how long we've got left. I think it's about 25 minutes, although that's probably wrong knowing me. Although there's yellow flags, and I think that's Noob. I don't know though. Is he struggling for grip? He's going onto that standing water a fair amount. Oh, he's run very wide. Has he got front wing damage? I don't think so. I'm trying to look closely. But no, yeah, you could probably tell I was trying to look closely by the distance to my mic that decreased rapidly as I was speaking. But yeah, that gap to Lawman's between Dougie, from Dougie is over 3 seconds now, and I think Verstappen must be getting increasingly frustrated about that, and he'll know he needs to get past in order to challenge for the lead here. Now, Paga's a solid minute behind QVR Cohen, who's just one position ahead of him. Oh, that's Tomo, I think, who's had a bit of a moment there. I don't know. There's the yellow flags in sector 1. Is that one of the dudes up? Oh, there's a big slide there for Lewis, and he's in the barrier and out of the race. His teammate must have just about observed that as they went through. There, that would have been very scary to see, and that's unfortunate for Lewis. He got quite far into the race, but yeah, just through village, farm curve even. It's very easy just to get that snap oversteer, and it's a lot harder to recover in the wet than usual. As here goes Kryptonite defensively to the inside for Brooklands. Now Tomo is going to try and get a switchback move done here, although he's going to have to back off as we head in towards Luffield. He's gone a bit deep, although he might try and do a switchback move here. We'll ride on board so he can do on the axle. It looks like Kryptonite's been able to plant the power a lot quicker. And there we go. Lewis has left the session, of course. He's not going to be too happy about that. And let me have a see what this comment is. Oh, no comment, says Lewis. Ow, I just elbowed my chair. It's unlucky. It's understandable though. That happens to everyone. I would say it happens to the best of us, but I would be a prime example of who the best of us aren't. But anyway, going through towards So then, Kryptonite is still trying to defend from Tomo. I've just done the same thing. Ow. Yeah, Kryptonite trying to defend from Tomo. As we go through Vale, it is going to be close. Can Tomo get the power down early enough? Can he get the overtake done as Praga goes into the pits? That might be just a swap onto another set of inters. We'll have a look, see in a second. See what compound he's switching to, actually. Let's ride on board. Is it going to be inters? No, he's going to go on to the wets, although he's serving a penalty. Now, will other drivers follow suit? I mean, Praga might be doing a front wing change as well. No, he's not. His inter's clearly run out, and it looks like it might be time for the wet tyres. That is rather... That's going to be interesting, actually. Let's see what the other drivers do in reaction to Praga. Of course, he's further down the order. Yeah, I see what you mean, Mohammed. It is... Yeah, these wet conditions. As you can see by Verstappen and Dougie, Verstappen clearly has the pace to keep up with Dougie. He just can't send it anywhere because of how greasy the track is. And of course, as you said, there's no DRS, so all they've got is slipstream, ERS, and fuel mix. And that just isn't enough sometimes, especially on a track like this where it's very hard to conserve your battery. And if you do, then you'll lose a lot of time just because of how evenly matched everyone is. in this game. But anyway, we'll go up to here because Spaghetti Chips has actually caught onto the tail of this little group here. There's blue flags, and that's probably for Paga because he's a lap behind his teammate almost at this point. So yeah, that was probably just for Paga. But anyway, yeah, can't race it, and it's Cohen side by side as we head towards Vale. Down the inside goes Con. Can he get the position? He's going to be side by side with the Ferrari. Can he get the switch back down? I don't know. I don't think he's managed to get the pad out. In fact, I think Cohen's just had a much better exit, and he's a lot faster on the exit of the turn there. Yeah, Praga's gone onto the full wet, so there's the yellow flags, and Praga has DNF'd. Oh my... Oh dear, I should just stop talking about anyone because as soon as I do, they're just crashing. Oh dear. Well, Praga went onto the full wets, and now he's in the full barrier, unfortunately for him. And that's virtual safety car as well, that incident. I'm not entirely sure where it is. Is it? He might have lost it here, or did he lose it in Sector 1? I'm not entirely sure. Verstappen's had a bit of a snap oversteer as Cohen's got a drive-through penalty. Now it's going to be interesting as we approach that point in the race where these drivers will need to pit off their inters. Will it be onto the wets or just another set of the greens? Also, interestingly, if you look to the left, you can see who was in what group and pitted when, and quite a few drivers are going to go in for a pit stop. Spaghetti Chips might try... Oh my goodness, that was a bit of a phantom Ferrari on the in front of the Renault. And the virtual safety car pit stop's not going to aid them too much because they're not going to gain that much time, as it was only be for about a bit of their pit stop. But it does look like everyone's going, oh no, wets! For Verstappen. Now this is going to be interesting. Some drivers are going to stay on the inters. This is rather spicy. It's a bit of a, I don't quite know how to say it, a bit of a limbo between the inters and the wets. Of course, Verstappen the only one taking the gamble and going onto the wets. Will we see the rain ease up or will it get heavier? We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, that is very interesting. And also, the fact that Spaghetti Chips has just done the overcut, if these inters are faster, that should mean that he can gain position on Dougie and Verstappen, because Verstappen was being held up by Dougie. Will Smag be able to make it past? And we'll have to keep an eye on that gap between Verstappen and Dougie, because that'll show how the wets are compared to the inters, and that might be what the other drivers are using to judge their pits. But it looks like the inters might just about be the preferential compound, yeah, because Verstappen's really dropping back behind Dougie, so he's taken the gamble, but I think it's fails. We can have a look at penalties now if you want. Race director, do not quit the main menu. Incidents, so we've got Deneen with a time penalty. I think all of these have probably been served. Alice Killer, Praga and Cohen. 3 seconds there for Kryptonite and 5 seconds for Alice Killer. Another 5 seconds for Tomo. 3 seconds there for Noob. And a drive-through there for Cohen. I didn't realise he had a drive-through. That was for speeding under the safety car. And 5 seconds for Josh Mayer. Of course, it's a lot easier to run deep into the pit lane on a track like this in the wets, because you're going in very, very fast. And we'll go down to Josh Mayer because he's... never mind, he's going to get overtaken by default. But yeah, Verstappen is a lot slow on the wets, and I think he's going to seriously regret that decision. I think he may have made a mistake, although Tomo is deciding... Oh, is he going on to the... What the hell? Tyres on the wets. Rather peculiar. Now then, here he comes. That is interesting, because Verstappen is about 1 or 2 seconds a lap slower, as it's Cohen is out of the Grand Prix. Yellow flags in Sector 3. Let's have a look then. That was probably on the pit lane entrance. We'll ride on board with the Ginger, who's had quite a dominant lead so far. Let's be fair to him. He's had almost no screen time, but he's definitely been leading quite some amount. Although I think Cohen might have just decided to end it there. There's yellow flags in Sector 1 and Sector 2. That sounded very sinister. Still yellow flags in Sector 1. Don't really know what the cause of that is. So we'll just go back to the Ginger. But, yeah, it's not going too well for Verstappen. After his pit stop, he's now 10 seconds behind Dougie, down from a gap of 4. So it is really not gone well for him. Oh, and that's the Ferrari retiring off to your right there. Cohen's left the session now. I think he probably gave up at that point. And, yeah, I don't think the wets were a very good call because Verstappen is just not able to keep up, whereas the guys on Inters are managing to keep going. And yeah, these top 7 have yet to pit, so that will be interesting. In fact, Josh is going back into the pits just after 1 lap, or maybe 2 actually. Let's have a look then and see if he goes onto the wets. Maybe it's picking up again, I'm not entirely sure. So the gamble might still pay off. We've still got 10 laps to go here, remember, or 11 rather. So you never know what might happen, but we will have to wait and see. Because Josh has gone onto the wets as well. Now, will this trigger the top guys to go onto the wets? Because we've currently got 3 drivers currently on the wets. And I've said currently a few too many times there. But, they're going to stay out for another lap. Will Lawman's going to the pits? No, he won't. Now, it's all on spaghetti chips. Is he going to stay out for another lap? Those Inters do have quite a decent amount of life. They can go half a race, as it's shown on the left there. But let's have a look and see what the strategies are going to be. Because spaghetti chips, actually, no. Was I being a bit of an idiot there? No, it wasn't. That is the main straight. Oh, sorry, I get confused sometimes between the main straight and the pit straight. Or the national straight, rather. The pit straight and the national straight. Call it that. Oh. But anyway, with 10 laps to go then, these top 7 are going to have to pit at some point. And it's all about where they come out after they pit and what tyres they go onto, because I don't think the wets are a very good idea, and I think Verstappen's thinking the same way. Because he's just going back into the pits to likely strap on a set of Inters. So that leaves it with, it's likely the... well, we'll have a look between Verstappen and Dougie. Verstappen, well, Dougie was 141.2. Verstappen, and Verstappen was a 149.5. So... about 8 seconds, 8 to 9 seconds difference there. So yeah, it definitely was not a good idea to go onto the wets, and I think those drivers who have done it will probably revert back to the green wall tyres. So yeah, quite an error, I reckon, in their judgment for the wet tyres. And Spaghetti Chips has got a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, and it's such an easy thing to do around Britain. You can just go slightly too wide because of the nature of the turns. They're very dependent on downforce, and it's very easy to just run wide or accidentally cut by turning in a tenth or two early, and that's one thing the drivers are going to have to watch out for. And that 10-second time penalty, it might have a bigger impact than it looks right now, as there's yellow flags. Don't know who for. Is that for Josh? The yellow flags on sector 1. I don't know. Strange. Yeah, well, as I was saying, what the hell? Where are these yellow flags coming from then? Oh, it might be Cohen. I don't know. Sorry if I keep butchering your name, Cohen. Oh, that's both of you, to be honest. It's quite hard to keep on top of. of course, I'm English, and those are Dutch names, and it's not a problem. It's just the fact that the pronunciation varies between countries, and yeah, I'll do my best to try and get it right, but I hope you understand the situation, as one of the pronunciations I was offered is also a racial slur in English, so I think we're going to have to leave that one out. So I'll just call it cone, as Terror Racer hits the number of the devil. That's 0. The 666. Also a well-known AC/DC song. I do love AC/DC, but the Ginger there, about to lap Josh. Josh is running a bit wide to try and let him through, as long as he doesn't come back and absolutely clatter them. Should be fine. I say should be. It's always not ideal, but we've got the two Mercedes actually. They're very close to each other. Kryptonite with a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. But we're going through Maggots and Beckett's now. Tomo is on the wets. Dougie is Khan is on the inters. It should be a breeze for the rearmost Mercedes driver, as Paga gets a 10-second time penalty for corner cutting, and that is not a corner cut, and that is a retire from the session there. Khan then up into 9th place, having overtaken his teammate. So I think most of these DNFs are actually just due to the fact that it's so hard just to keep going in these wet conditions, and I think some of the drivers are really struggling, and they don't see the point in continuing, which is fair enough, because the gap Paga had in front of him was 40 seconds, and you honestly cannot blame him for that. But yeah, we've got 7 laps to go then. That's been quite a good race so far. Paga saying Lamau in the chat. Oh, and Josh Mayer's retired from the session as well, for likely a similar. Well, that's sector 1, so I don't think we're going to see from there. Probably around Kryptonite. Here's the yellow flags. He may have just retired due to the same reasons as Paga retired, which would be fair enough. Can I just go to Haas? Says Paga. Clearly, it's not working out in the Red Bull. Anyway, it looks like the Ginger, he's on course to win the race this evening. He's led pretty much from the start. He's in a great position to win. Can he just keep it hunkered down for the next few laps and take the checkered flag? That's all he's got to do right now. And I say all he's got to do, it's quite a lot, although he is currently faster than Lawmans. And I think they might be waiting for a dry spell. There might be a dry spell on the horizon for these guys. See a little bit of blue up in the top left there. And they might be waiting until that time to pit, because these guys are really stretching out their inters that they've had for the majority of the race. So it is very interesting how it's going to work. Lawman's getting a 3-second time penalty. I don't think there's any chance of us seeing dryness in the next few laps, and if it gets to lap 24 and it's not and it hasn't stopped raining, it probably isn't worth going, although they might be trying to go to the end of the race, if you excuse the voice crack. That would take quite a lot of stretching of the tyres, so it all depends on when they pitted, and we might see some punctures actually, depending on how hard the drives have been battling. And yeah, that has just occurred to me. They might be trying to go to the end of the race as Noob goes into the pit lane, or will we just see a final push on some fresh inters, maybe try and get the fastest lap as well? Let's have a look. But yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting. The Ginger at 21 running a bit deep into Luffield there. Lawman's having a poorer exit there, and onto the old straight, or the national straight I should say. It's not going to be too beneficial for him. But yeah, this track of course has a lot of heritage, as I was mentioning earlier. with the original layout. I mean, the original layout of this track you can find in games like Assetto Corsa and Project Cars 2. So it's always quite interesting to just have a look at what it would have been like. And it's quite an interesting circuit actually. It's quite difficult though. But yeah, it's quite an interesting thing to just look at what the track used to be like, if you know what I mean. But enough of the waffle. We've got 5 laps left. Ginger is in the lead, but Lawmans is now closing down like a shark, and even more like a shark considering the amount of water that is falling from the sky, turning the track into a lake, or rather a lake. But I think you know where I was going with that. Turning the track into a lake. I should probably trademark that. You heard it here first. Lots of wheel spin there from Lawmans. You could hear that from the off-board camera. So yeah, that's going to be a poor exit onto the Wellington straight. Deneen going into the pits. Will these guys have to pit? This is going to be really, really interesting. I mean, the strategy has been very peculiar considering it rained during the formation lap and no one saw that coming. It's now a game of chicken. Will one of them pit and the rest stay out to the end, or will they all have to pit? I have no idea what their tyres are looking like. If you do have that information, please let me know, because that would be very interesting, as Lawmans is really closing up at this point, even though his tyres are 1 lap older. And in fact, that should really be more exaggerated now. The tyres are so old. The fact that his are 1 lap older, of course, every lap counts. And there's probably very little tread left on his tyres. Like, when you see the pit stops from the older Inters to the new Inters, you see how little tread there is left. Oh, just a little bit of Discord. Nothing about this race in the group chat. But yeah, let's have a weather eye out, if you forgive the pun, for the tyre usage. And will we see lockups? That is going to be quite a prominent part, I reckon. And you got to be careful there in that little couple of turns, just for the weight transfer, as there's a bit of wheel spin for Lawmans, who's really struggling for traction now. He needs to nurse those tyres another 4 laps, as Verstappen gets a 3-second time penalty. They're both struggling for grip. I think Lawmans more so than the Ginger though, because Lawmans has just dropped by about 0.3 of a second to half a second over that last lap or so. And yeah, as you can see, Lawmans running wide at pretty much every turn. It was only a matter of time till he gets another penalty. If he has got one already, actually, that is a point. Can they just get it home, or will they have to pit? I mean, we've already seen New have to pit. He only lost 2 positions there, but of course, when you're fighting for the lead, and of course, he was the last of the late runners, and I think actually Deneen has only just pitted as well. So yeah, that's rather interesting. So it is really well and truly a game of chicken now. And I think time penalties are going to have a big part to play in the result of this race. There goes Spaghetti Chips. He's gone into the pits then. With 3 laps to go. Who's going to pit first? Between the Ginger and Lawmans. Could the Ginger sell a dummy by pretending to go into the pit lane? In fact, Spag is on the wets. So maybe, just maybe. Oh, look at that. The rain is coming down a bit heavier now. And will the wets actually work right now? Can Spaghetti Chips make his way back up into the podium position? Of course, he has got that 10-second time penalty, so it is unlikely. But it isn't unheard of, as that must have been a very excruciatingly long stop for him. Approaching the last 2.5 laps then. who is going to end where? Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. The top 4 have not pitted since roughly lap 2 or 3. I mean 3 or 4. As Verstappen has just dropped down a position or gained a position. I'm not entirely sure about that. But yeah, just keeping an eye out. The rain is really coming down heavily right now. Running a bit wide again. Lawman's definitely struggling for grip. Struggling. Now let's have a look at Spag's gap to Dougie. If he improves rapidly, then it's definitely time for wets. And look how badly the rain is falling right now. As we start the penultimate lap of the British Grand Prix then. The rain is going to be very heavy. Will these tyres make it to the end? Will Lawman's and the Ginger hold on to their wins? Because of course if they get a puncture, that could result in the complete loss of the race for them. And could in fact result in the loss of a podium. Although to be fair though, Spaghetti Chips isn't really gaining or losing on Dougie, so I think it's still in that limbo position between inters and wets. So yeah, that is really quite interesting, this strategy. And in fact, Spaghetti Chips is dropping back, so he's tried the same gamble as well. It's not really working. And although he's kind of oscillating closer and further from Dougie, I think it depends on which sector of the track he's on and the requirements of the tyres through those sectors. But anyway, it looks like the top 2 aren't going to pit, and they're going to nurse their tyres home for the last couple of laps. And the Lawmans and Ginger, they've just been driving so well this evening. Spaghetti Chips really dropping back now. Cohen, Blige getting a time penalty there. Of course, the other Cohen is no longer racing, so I can just call him Cohen right now until the next race. And there we go. Lawman's running wide again on the exit of Stowe as we head into Vale for the second last time to start the final lap of the Grand Prix this evening. And what a race it has been. I don't think anyone was expecting rain to start falling on the formation lap, especially considering that Jeff said the rain would be coming 20 minutes into the race, and it's coming quite heavily sideways there. I mean, I think, look at that, the cameras have completely different rain animations. That's kind of weird actually. Look at that, it's coming completely from the right hand side, and it's just coming normally like that. So that's a bit weird, but there's some rain animations for you, in case you're interested in those kind of stuff. Those kind of things. But anyway, the final lap of the race. The Ginger has been leading since pretty much the start of the Grand Prix. The Lawmans, his tyres are 1 lap older, and they could go at any moment, I reckon. It'll be interesting to see what kind of where they were on at the end of the race, and of course that's what the podium interviews are for, if I have the opportunity to do those. Anyway, heading through Cobbs for the final time this evening. And towards Maggots and Beckett's. It's the Haas leading the procession. He has just done such an excellent job here, has the Ginger. Engineered insanity, F1. Didn't even notice that was there until the final lap, but better late than never, as they say. Here we go then, through Stowe towards Vale. Has no one's run wide? I suppose we won't know. But anyway, into Vale for the final time this evening. And it's going to be a close line as we cross it this evening. It's going to be the Ginger taking the win this evening, followed by Lawmans. Then Kryptonite about 30 seconds behind. He's still going to watch out for Terror Racer behind him, although there is a second gap. And it is the Haas that has won the Grand Prix this evening. Can Kryptonite or Terror Racer make it into the podiums? It's going to be close. They're both on very old tyres, and Spaghetti Chips, this gamble has not worked out for him. But it is going to be Kryptonite next across the line. Tom has left the session. Of course, he's just finished there. Although Terror Racer is actually going to get the podium due to time penalties. Dougie Falcons will move ahead of Kryptonite as well. Here comes Spaghetti Chips. He went onto the wets, and it clearly hasn't worked out for him, unfortunately. Across the line, that's a big old spin. He's clearly done that on purpose. And Danine's going to overtake him as well. Here comes the noob then. to cross the line in style there. Then it'll be Verstappen next, and let's have a look at the group chat. GG Cone says, or the Ginger says, someone. Okay, Lewis is, a bit of a moment there for Verstappen, but he's going to get overtaken by Kart Racer, and then Cone will come home in 11th place. Okay, so we have some bad news. Praga is going to leave, has left ILR, and so has its Cone, and so has LR Lewis. Ginger is very happy about that. Tomo has left as well. Oh my god. That was the worst experience on the game I've had on the weekend. I thought I'd give it a go. I'm out. See you. What time sent me on? I think it was like 80. You wouldn't let me go, did you? At Lawmans, says Ginger. Lawmans, of course, saying, nah mate, Jeff is a dick. You heard it here first. The finishing order, and I've just ear-raped anyone using headphones. It's going to be the Ginger 2121, followed by Lawrence Terror Racer, Dougie Falcons 97, Kryptonite, LR Deneen 69, Spaghetti Chips, Noob 999, Khan Racer, Verstappen RB33, QVR Cone Blige, and D43 Tomo rounding off the finishes. The DNS were Josh Mayer, Paganeas 21, Iskern, LR Praga, Lewis 11004, Alice Killer 150 at the very back there then, and I'm just going to keep on top of all of this. Yeah, so about 75–80%. Pretty much impossible to do a clean overtake due to dirty air, says Lawmans. Or Deneen even, not Lawmans. And let's see if I've got them as friends. Actually, before they go, so we've got the Ginger view profile. So that was the Ginger. Then we need to invite Deneen and Terror Racer. View profile. Hello, the Ginger. I'm just inviting the other podium finishers. Bear with me. Also, just make sure your voice is allowed to be shared before we start.
Yeah, I have it on share. I will check it again.
Okay. I was just gonna. There we go. All right then. 2 seconds. Just gonna load back into the game. All right then. So that was quite an interesting race, I think you'll have to agree. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting with the rain, saying it was heavy rain for the whole race, but staying on the inters. And then just keeping those inters alive, and then seeing 8% old inters on the last lap with Lormans already for 20 laps behind you. It's just like, oh,
yeah.
That was something.
What about seeing the rain on the formation lap? Was that a bit worrying?
Yeah, it was also like I got disqualified like at the beginning of the first sector.
Alright.
So that was pretty shit, and it was very weird. It showed like at the end of the formation lap that it was raining, and then when the race starts it was dry again, and then at the end of that one it was raining again. It was like what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. Alright then, we'll move on to Deneen then. How did you feel about that race?
It was Lormans, right? That got P2.
Lormans?
Yeah, I got 7th.
How do you feel about the race?
Am I meant to be here?
I don't know. I'm really tired.
I got 7th. Like... It was Lormans who was 2nd or 3rd.
Oh dear.
Yes, it was. You've invited the...
Sorry about that. I'm so tired right now. Where is Lawman's? Well, let me just invite Lawman's then. I thought it was Lawman's, but then I decided to confuse myself. Invite. There we go.
Pain, I think.
Alright. Well then, we'll move on to Terra Racer. Just about squeezed onto the podium there because of Kryptonite's time penalties, so what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it was really an exciting race. Started from P15 and with a start this Renault spun ahead of me. So I was, I think, last, or I just one guy behind me. And moving on through the race, I could just pass everyone who pitted or spun or crashed. And at the end, yeah, I knew Krypton had a penalty. And Dougie behind me, I was quite worried that he would overtake me, so I didn't attack Krypton too much. He had about the same pace as me, so yeah, I could just follow him to P3.
Is there anything else you guys want to say?
Please, next race, not wet, please. So weird that we have like 70% of the races this season has been or wet quali or wet race. Yeah. Like, how? So, yeah.
See if, wait,
was
it
it
Lawman's not joining them?
I really don't know.
We'll give him a sec.
Was it a enjoyable race for, like, to commentate? Because I really didn't know.
I mean, it was pretty entertaining actually. Watching the strategy when people pitted for the first pit stops onto the inters, half of the track, exactly half of the people pitted onto the inters, the other half stayed out on slicks. So it was interesting to see who would come out where after the pit stops. And Dougie, I think, moved up into first because of that. And then at the end, watching like 23 laps on tyres, that must have been quite nerve-wracking if you were driving.
Yeah. Because half of the field pitting, that was when I could join back to the group, to the guys in the points. They all got stuck, and I could just join them. Yeah.
I knew it was quite a stretch, but when I saw like the last going into the last lap, my inters were 75%. I was like, oh shit, oh shit. And then it's also like the inters were getting like really bad, and when they like really went over the cliff, they saying, oh, you need to pit to the wets because it's now really heavy rain. So it was so tricky the last like 6 laps.
Yeah.
I guess Lawrence.
Yeah, I doubt he's going to join. So let's wrap it up there then. Thank you everyone so much for joining. I do hope you enjoyed the race because I definitely did. And I will see you